Hello and welcome back to Logan Sounds Off. Today I'm going to be reviewing a classic jazz album called April in Paris by Count Basie and his orchestra. Honestly, before Alan Hush, big shout out to Alan for sending me this record. I had not heard this record at all, ever. And I don't actually know much by Count Basie, apart from this record, obviously now I know it. And didn't really know what I was going to be listening to. I didn't know what kind of jazz it was going to be like. As some of you may know, I'm into all kinds of genres of jazz. My last album review is actually Giant Steps by John Coltrane. The link to that review, if you'd like to look at it, is down below. But I also like a lot of electric jazz, so it's kind of interesting discovering this. And this is a beautiful album. I really like this record. So Alan sent me this along with Saturday Night Fever, the soundtrack to that, which is absolutely brilliant. So two classics, and he sent me this lovely copy of the vinyl, standard black vinyl. This was released in 1956 originally by, I believe, Verve Records. I'll tell you in a sec. But it's really, really cool. I love this copy. Here you go, Verve, and this is your hi-fi. It's really, really cool, supervised by Norman Granz. Obviously, I know I speak about it a lot. If you've watched some of my previous jazz reviews, I love the way the liner notes are on the back of jazz albums. It's really, really cool. So you got the track list here. This was recorded between July, a couple of days after my birthday is a couple of days after the 23rd of July. And it finished up the recording in January. So obviously they weren't recording every day, but they had these periods around July, around kind of 26th to 27th of July, and then January 4th to January 5th in 1956 they were recording. So two very different periods of time. I find it kind of humorous. This is about April in Paris, and both of them aren't recorded in spring. It's not April, it's not even spring, it's just like summer and winter. So that's kind of insane. There is kind of a Christmassy feel off this record. Honestly, I find it very much an autumn kind of album at times. It's a really, really nice kind of smooth record. Very, very interesting, because what I found really cool about listening to this album was that listening to all the different instruments, there was something special about each one, which I thought was awesome, and I loved that. They weren't all the same. They differed between each track. They all had different places in each track. And I also loved the different kind of themes that were explored on this record, where it's like April in Paris, the kind of powerful starting track, whether it be Dinner with Friends, which is this kind of really, really fast track that ends off the record. And then you have Mambo In, which is the second last track actually, which is one of my favorite tracks of the album, which actually has a real mambo feel. The percussion in this is really, really cool. But I'm going to be getting to that in a sec when I run through my kind of track by track analysis of the album. But just as a brief kind of overview of the record, if you've never heard it before, obviously if you're new to my channel you may not know, but for albums and artists I put all the links down in the description, so check it out there. Love this album art. I just think it's really sweet. That was kind of the first thing that captured me. Again, this kind of autumny feel with the leaves and things. Just I love that feel. So the personnel is Joe Newman, Jones, Wendell Cully, again Ronald Jones. It might be trumpets Henry. Do you know what? Actually, there's so many people here. Genuinely, there's a list of them here, so I might not go through them, but definitely check out the different musicians. There's an incredible lineup of people. So as you were seeing, standard black vinyl, amazing sound. Let's get into the kind of the tracks of the album. It's going to be really, really fun, starting off with April in Paris. But before we go anywhere near to that, I just want to ask you, the viewer or the listener, if you're on a podcast, please, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, and please, if you're on Spotify, Apple Music, Google Podcasts, wherever you stream it, please follow me there. Go to my social media links down below. Go to my website, check it out. Follow me there as well. It really supports the channel. If you do enjoy this video, leave a thumbs up. If you have any thoughts, if you think I'm wrong on something, or if you agree with me on something, let me know in the comments. If you have nothing to say, please share it on with a friend if they like Count Basie or are a jazz fan like myself. You really don't realize how much this means to me as a podcaster when people share my content. So please do that. Let people know about my podcast. It's really, really helpful. Thanks. Moving on now to the tracks, which are really, really stunning across this album. Whether it be on side A, where it's a very powerful kind of side, and then side B, which is more kind of not explorative, I don't even think that's a word, but it explores really cool themes, including like Mambo in, as we were talking about. Starting off with April in Paris. So both the strong kind of trumpets and trombones that power this track, that really get you up and moving, really catch your ear. That's the one thing that I love about this particular song. They really power the song. They're one of the main things that you first hear, not only because they're an octave higher, they're kind of more prominent in the mix, but they wouldn't be as loud as something like Basie's incredible piano. Now, do I sometimes miss that? Would I sometimes love to hear more of Count Basie's incredible piano playing? Yes, but I also think the trombones are really, really cool and excited and kind of expressive throughout this particular song, which I think is really, really awesome. And it adds this certain, as I would say, I use the term power, but as well energy to the song that can't really be done by a piano or a bass. So I really, really love the brass section in this track. It's really, really cool. So check that out while listening to April in Paris. And then also one of the other central points of the song is these swinging drums, and not like this kind of swing of it is incredible, and this continues for other tracks on the record as well. So the drums are really, really cool and keep this lovely steady feel to the song. Then moving on to the song Corner Pocket. I love the playful piano that introduces us to this song. Count Basie has this kind of style that I love, of just playing the piano really kind of in a fun way, very feel good, very upbeat. That adds, if you're listening to maybe a very energetic song, it adds this really positive spin on it. If you're listening to more of a relaxing song, it puts you at ease. So it's very, very dynamic, Basie style of playing the piano, which is very, very interesting. So if you're a piano player yourself, maybe just listen into how dynamic he is as a player. Or if you're just a fellow music fan like me, listen into that, because it's really, really cool the way he can play something in different tones to suit the mood of a track. And then also you've got these vast trumpets and brilliant bass that parade throughout the song. And then you got when you have this occasional snare drum that are really kind of vast, that allows for a big effect when you have that snare drum, where in a usual track it wouldn't. Then you have Didn't You, and I love the way I said didn't, but that's because there is actually no T in the title. It says, I'm sorry, it's very hard to see, but it says didn't. It doesn't say didn't. Says Didn't You, which adds this kind of like, or not organic, but kind of relaxed, kind of informal way of just speaking, just didn't. But this track launches into this relaxed swing that immediately kind of moves in with these brass stabs. It gets really fast very quickly, and these low trombones that adds for a full feel, the way the trombones and the trumpets mesh together. And most of all, the highlight of Basie's piano, just everything stops and you have this Basie plays the piano that finishes off the track, and then another stab of all these trumpets. It's really, really interesting, and I love the way they use the amount of instruments to determine how powerful the song is going to be. And then you have Sweetie Cakes, and with more emphasis on Basie's piano on this track. I thought that was really cool, because originally, the first couple of times I listened to this record, I actually didn't know what instrument Count Basie played. I just wanted to listen to the album. I wasn't reading up too much on Count Basie yet, but then I was looking at the liner notes and I realised, oh, he plays the piano. Not out of ignorance, just I wanted to hear the album first and then kind of look through the personnel and things. And I thought that was really interesting. But I wanted to hear how Basie plays the piano, and I got a really good idea on Sweetie Cakes, and this was like music that would represent Sweetie Cakes, which is kind of cool. And it has him exploring both low and high octaves, which adds for this really vast feel as well, having more emphasis on his playing, kind of being not it sounds like there's multiple instruments he's playing, which is really, really cool, along with this sweet bass line that just adds this whole tone to it that I think is brilliant. That texture is really nice. Then you have Magic, and this is the final song of side A. So listening to side A originally, I thought, wow, that is kind of mind-blowing. It's a lot to take in. This isn't like a long album or a short album. It's hit that Goldilocks spot of 36 minutes. So when you're about halfway through its side A, it closes off the side perfectly, Magic, with its kind of, again, we're returning back to Basie's signature kind of sound at this point throughout this album of just being a playful, upbeat piano player, except this time it's not just him on the piano. The whole track feels really playful and upbeat and happy and fast, and this magical piano. And I think that's why I love the different track titles on this album. I just don't know why. They apply so much to the different songs, apart from one, which I'll get to, which is a bit, yeah, we'll get to that. But apart from one, I think all of the track titles really work, apart from that one song. And we'll get to that soon, because we're moving on to side B now. And side B is a very interesting side, as I was mentioning earlier. It's not like side A, it's kind of energetic and kind of your kind of normal, typical, not typical in a bad way, just your typical kind of nice upbeat jazz melodies. This is more this exploring kind of phase of the album, which is very, very interesting. You get into more kind of, you explore more sounds of jazz, like mambo in, where it is mambo style, which is really, really awesome, and I love that so much. So we're gonna get into that and much, much more, like how we've got stuff like what am I here for, which has these really interesting piano parts in it. You've got the incredible speed of some of the songs. Dinner with Friends, the closing track, which is surprising. The track title is very misleading, but it kind of works as well. And then Shiny Stockings, which is this opening track. And again, where I was mentioning about the way this album kind of has a seasonal feel to it. This is what I'm talking about, Shiny Stockings. This doesn't feel like a spring album, or I'm not going to say French, because you don't usually have that where it's a French tone of any real like music that's been made in France. But I'm actually not sure if this record was made in France. It was. Do you know, that's actually kind of comedic. It wasn't even recorded in France. It's April in Paris, and it was recorded in summer and winter in America, in New York. So that's how misleading this this album title is. So you don't get the French kind of sound to it at all. Not that there really is a specific French sound, or this kind of spring feel. So I thought that was really interesting, just Shiny Stockings, the opening track. So that's hilarious. So, Shiny Stockings. This is now our opening track to side B. This is our first taste of this kind of, we're gonna go, is like most albums, it's gonna fall off. It doesn't. It gets even better, this album. So I love the drum fills on this song and how warm the drums feel. And especially on side B, the drums, instead of being as impactful, not in a bad way, on side A, it's more about how loud and impactful and booming these drums are on side A. And then on side B, you've got these kind of warm drums that stay in the background and kind of parade through, add this nice steady beat, this kind of cool rhythmic swing that you get into that gives a bit of a cool groove to the track. And the piano is a bit left out on this track again, but this isn't like, I'm not discrediting the album. I just wish, personally, as a personal opinion, not as a music like reviewer, I would love to hear more piano on this album. But regarding like looking at it, reviewing it, it's perfect. But the brass stresses its true power on this song as well. Then you have What Am I Here For? First of all, very, very different to the other tracks that we've been talking about, like April in Paris, Corner Pocket, Sweetie Cakes, Magic, Shiny Stockings. What Am I Here For? It's much more dramatic, yet it's not very dramatic. Not in a bad way, it doesn't fall off or anything, but it's not as impactful in a negative way. It's just just another title. It's just another Count Basie title, and that's kind of misleading sometimes, like Dinner with Friends, which we'll get to soon. And this introduces the song and how kind of relaxing it is. This piano that comes in, kind of it's kind of this relaxing tone, as I've been mentioning. Basie's dynamic elements. This is really relaxing, just fun, and this beautiful piano that introduces it. So have a listen to the piano and What Am I Here For? Moving on then to, this is a brutal title, and times have changed. Times have changed. We're nearly 70 years on now. This song's called Midgets. This is the one title that I don't like, and it does not represent the song. So we're just going to move on from the title, not the song. I hope you didn't think I was going to go, oh yeah, we're just going to skip the song, because it's about the music, but not a great title. But the music behind, yeah, the speed of the brass in this track, this song is incredible and really, really cool. And the excellent bass and ride cymbal, these ride cymbal and hats that are really the percussive and rhythmic that get you up, really pair well with it as well, and I love that. And it pairs with the most surprising kind of interesting turn Basie could have pulled throughout the whole record: the flute. Basie introduces the flute, and not on, maybe, I'm not sure if the flute was on a smaller scale on other tracks or bigger scales or whatever. This is now one of the most prominent instruments you hear throughout the track, and it's the one that you listen out for, and it's really, really enjoyable to listen to. Really, really powerful, kind of fun, and a new kind of funky, not funky as in funk music, but just kind of weird, quirky, out of the ordinary instrument to throw in there. It makes no sense, but, and I'm not saying flute doesn't belong in jazz music, it 100% does, but with the way Basie was going, it's just kind of like you went with the flute. It was so interesting to me, and it's why I do actually love the flute on this particular track. So, moving on from the badly titled song Midgets, we're gonna ignore 70 years on now, so forget about it, but Mambo Inn. I've referenced this a couple of times because it's one of the best songs on the record by far. Mambo Inn is this super cool, again, this is another turn that Basie is surprising us on the second side. Like, seriously, it's a bit of a roller coaster, especially when you're me. I'm very, very limited to my jazz knowledge. I'm just into some weird kind of jazz, sometimes like some Electric Miles, but even at that, that's pretty generic of a jazz taste. So for me, exploring Count Basie, who I know is very popular and isn't by any means like a small little musician, he's massive, but this was kind of strange, getting used to the album and then being thrown Mambo in, that other song. But the percussion on this track pairs really well, like incredibly well, with the rhythmic piano and amazing brass. This really, really cool brass. The brass on this album is incredible. I think I'm knocking it down too much. I think I'm being a bit harsh on the brass. It's very good, but I just, again, the piano I'd love to hear, but the brass is incredible on this album. So really, really cool, and adds obviously a beautiful touch. This kind of rhythmic piano in Mambo Inn, and this really cool mambo feel. I mean, it's another texture that Basie introduces where it feels so wrong, yet it's so right on the record to go to a mambo style. It's really, really interesting and super cool. This is one of my favorite tracks on the album. Very, very interesting Mambo Inn. The way it works, just the amazing kind of mambo sound of it is so comedic to me. Kind of cool. It's like Basie going, do you know what? This isn't quirky enough. Let's go with Mambo Inn. And he goes full blast with this incredible multi-instrumental masterpiece that is. So moving on then for our final track, Dinner with Friends. Referenced this a couple of times as well, because this is the biggest turn, not because of the music, but because of the title, Dinner with Friends. I can picture, like, you know, that relaxing evening, autumn, again, the autumn image appears, but that's not what Basie wants, is that they're kind of having dinner and relaxing, not dinner jazz exactly, because to label jazz as dinner jazz, this is definitely not a dinner jazz album in some respects, like Mambo Inn and Dinner with Friends, because you think that this is a relaxing track. It's not. It's anything but. It's this fast-paced, kind of energetic track that closes off the album perfectly with this amazing drum solo that completely blows you away at the end. Really, really interesting. Really, really cool. And just another way Basie is destroying our minds with his incredible music. Starting off with a kind of cool, fun side A and then going full blast on side B. So, overall thoughts. Basie as an introductory album to him, I can't really say much about this topic because I don't know much more of Basie's music. As a jazz album, very good. I enjoy this a lot. It's a classic. I'm so happy to have it in my collection. Thanks to Alan Hush. Big shout out to Alan again. So kind of you. So, April in Paris. The title's misleading, but the music is beautiful. This is such a lovely album that you kind of just... And also this album cover is amazing. Just so sweet. I love it. Just such a nice cover. Overall, this album, I really like it. I enjoy listening to it. It's not a jazz album where it's very intense to listen to, like maybe Bitches Brew by Miles Davis or something like A Love Supreme, which is... It's not that it's not beautiful, but the context of it is just a very creatively interesting piece that it deserves a lot. It deserves a lot of your mind while you're listening to it, where this kind of cool to just listen to. Again, a Love Supreme review in the description. But it's cool to listen to where you're just listening to it in the background or really focusing in on it. It's such a dynamic album. So, taking all that in mind, there wasn't that much piano. I would have preferred a bit more. I know it was always there, but it really wasn't mixed in too much. I didn't hear too much of it. That's more opinion. Don't know if you agree, don't know. But excluding that factor, because it is opinion, I wouldn't be reviewing correctly if I included something that Count Basie himself, the piano player, he didn't really mind not having too much piano mixed in as the main instrument throughout it. I think this is a solid 5 out of 5 stars. It's a terrific record with amazing instrumentals and mind-blowing musicianship that I would love to share with you. Listen to this album. Share this album. Delve into it. Listen to it in different... Maybe go for a walk in spring or autumn or whenever you're watching this video. Just go out for a walk. Listen to April in Paris. It's not too much of a long listen. If you're a vinyl head like me, maybe pick it up. It sounds very good on the turntable. It's a class record. It even says so. It says hi-fi. You're kind of stuck with it now. It's amazing. April in Paris is this beautiful piece of music that I am rating 5 out of 5 stars. Thank you to Mr. Alan Hush for sending me this incredible record along with Saturday Night Fever. But this record as well, because of how amazing it is, and you introduced me to one of my new favourite albums that I love having in my collection. Thank you so much, Alan. Brilliant. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to you, the viewer. Again, just asking you, if you're on YouTube, subscribe, share, like, comment, whatever you want to do, please do it. Subscribe if you like my channel. A lot of my viewers don't subscribe. Little bit of a letdown. If you like the video, tell me, like it. That really is so supportive. Just seeing people like it. Share it with your fellow jazz heads. Hopefully they'll enjoy the review. As well, if you're listening on Spotify, follow. You can comment now on Spotify as well. Check out my back catalogue of interviews and album reviews and book reviews, and check out my website as well. Follow me on social media for more updates. I usually post about CDs, records, tapes, anything that I've gotten, what I'm listening to on streaming, what I would love to recommend to you, and much more there as well. So please check that out, and I hope you have a terrific day. Bye guys.